Hi, I'm Amy. This is House of Nash Eats, and today we are making bakery-style raspberry streusel muffins. All right, I love making muffins because they're so easy to throw together. These raspberry streusel muffins are one of my very favorites from my childhood. So we're gonna start out by combining our dry ingredients. So I've got 2 cups of flour, and this is just regular all-purpose flour, and I'll link below to a printable recipe card which has all the measurements. And then 1 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're just going to whisk those together. One key for really light, tender muffins is to not overmix the muffin batter, the batter. And so it's important to go ahead and whisk these together or sift them, but I just whisk them so that everything gets evenly dispersed. That baking powder, which is going to lift the muffins, is evenly mixed around before we add our wet ingredients, because at that point, we don't want to mix the batter any more than we really need to. Okay, so I'm going to set the dry ingredients to the side and grab another bowl. Okay, so to this bowl, I'm going to add 2 eggs and a cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use regular milk in this recipe. The buttermilk just gives it a little bit of a tang. And you could even add a little, like a tablespoon of lemon juice to a 1 cup measuring cup. Fill it up the rest of the way with milk and let it sit for 5 minutes, and you'll have homemade buttermilk, or at least a good buttermilk substitute. Okay, then we're going to add oil and butter. And the reason we're doing both is the oil helps keep the muffins nice and moist, and the butter adds flavor. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And then we'll add a little bit of vanilla, and we're going to whisk those together. I'm gonna grab a fork. Sometimes it's just easier to whisk with a fork, especially when I'm doing eggs. Okay, and again, the reason we're whisking these in a separate bowl, which I hate dirtying an extra bowl, but it does make for a more tender muffin, and it makes a difference here. So then we're going to take our muffin ingredients, the flour ingredients, and I just like to make a little hole in the center, a little well. We're going to pour all of the wet ingredients in. Just do this part by hand, use a spoon, and we're just going to stir everything around until it's evenly moistened and almost all the way combined. Okay, right about here where there's still just a little bit of flour, that's when I like to add my raspberries. So you can use fresh or frozen raspberries. Personally, I like to use fresh raspberries that I freeze for like 30 to 45 minutes, so they are a little bit more firm. I feel like it helps them not break up as much in the batter. But regular fresh raspberries or even frozen raspberries will work. If you're using frozen raspberries purchased from the store, you'll probably want to toss them with 2 tablespoons of flour first, just so they don't sink in your batter as much. Okay, and once those are stirred in, we're going to transfer these to a cupcake pan lined with muffin liners, or you could just spray them with some baking spray first. And this recipe makes exactly 12 muffins. So they get filled each muffin liner gets filled pretty full, almost all the way to the top. Or all the way to the top, really. And you can make jumbo muffins or mini muffins with this same batter. You'll just need to adjust the baking time a little bit. Okay, at this point, you could sprinkle these muffins with some sliced almonds for a little bit different finish, but I love doing these with Streusel topping, and we're gonna make our quick, easy streusel. So in a bowl, we're going to combine 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour with 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar, and then just a little bit of salt and a little ginger. Okay, and I'm just going to stir those together. And then I have 1/4 of a cup of cold cubed butter that I'm going to add, and use a pastry cutter to cut this in. You could do this with a food processor. You could use frozen butter and a grater, and grate the butter in, kind of like when you make scones. it's just really good to have cold butter so you get a nice crumbly, dry streusel on top. And as these muffins bake, that butter melts and creates a wonderful little streusel. So we're just going to cut this in until the butter resembles peas or the size of crumbs, and you should be able to squeeze the streusel together and it should form little clumps. That's about what it should look like, where you've got little pea-sized bits of butter, but it's really a pretty dry streusel. Okay, so now we're going to sprinkle this on top of each of the muffins, and it's going to look like too much streusel, but as these bake and the streusel melts down into the muffin and combines, it's the perfect ratio. And you can even clump it together by squeezing it in your hands to get a few larger, crumbly streusel pieces if it's too sandy. So these are my oldest daughter's favorite muffins, and she loves these. I think it's because she really likes fruit and raspberries, and the raspberry adds a really nice tart flavor to them. You could do some easy variations on these muffins by adding some lemon zest to the batter for a lemon raspberry muffin, or some almond extract along with the vanilla, maybe half a teaspoon to a teaspoon for a raspberry almond muffin, or even add a couple tablespoons of poppy seeds for a raspberry poppy seed muffin. There's a lot that you can do with this super versatile, like basic raspberry muffin recipe, and they'll all be delicious. So if there are little pieces of butter that are falling off, because you really are mounding these muffins up, just pick up the butter and put it back on top of the muffins, and it will melt down while they bake. This streusel will not go to waste. Okay, now we're going to go pop these in a 400-degree oven for 18 to 22 minutes until they are done. There we go. We have some beautiful, nice, tall, bakery-style raspberry muffins with a lovely streusel on top. And you can see there are nice, big clumps of that streusel. It's all buttery and just a nice golden brown. These have to cool down for a couple of minutes before you can even try to eat them. I know warm muffins are so tempting, but those raspberries are blistering hot. So give them a few minutes to cool down before you try to eat one. Okay, so I have let these cool for as long as I can stand, and now I'm going to transfer them to a plate and let them finish cooling all the way and try one. So letting them cool gives them a chance to set up a little bit too. So you can see they are nice and golden brown just around the edges, but you don't want them too dark or you'll overbake, and you don't want dry muffins. And I don't like to leave these in the pan for too long anyway, because the bottom side gets a little soggy. Not soggy, but you know, like it stays so moist in there. Just pulling them out of the pan gives them a chance to finish cooling down without the bottoms like staying in that moist, hot environment for too long. Okay, so now I get to taste these raspberry muffins. I have been waiting for this, but I think they're cool enough. So I'm gonna peel off my liner and then take a big old bite with lots of streusel. Okay, these muffins are so delicious. They're moist and tender and soft, and the raspberry really comes through. It's nice and a little bit tart with this sweet buttery streusel on top. I love these muffins. My family loves them. Your family will love them. They are a great way to celebrate the weekend for breakfast or brunch. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more great recipes just like this one.